Most parents have been told that toddler brain fog, low energy, and that constant afternoon meltdown are just part of having a small child. That toddlers are supposed to be tired, supposed to be cranky, supposed to lose focus halfway through anything you try to teach them. But the truth is something pediatricians figured out decades ago and somehow stopped telling most parents. One of the most common, most overlooked, most fixable causes of toddler fatigue, irritability, poor focus, and even delayed development is a single mineral, iron. And when a toddler's iron levels drop, everything drops with them. Energy, mood, attention span, sleep quality, even how quickly they learn new words. The wild part is that the foods that fix this are not exotic, not expensive, and not new. They are the same foods grandmothers and great-grandmothers fed their children long before anyone had ever heard the word supplement. Today I'm walking you through the exact 7 iron-rich foods that cleared my toddler's brain fog inside of 14 days. Foods that quietly rebuild energy, sharpen focus, and protect brain development during the most important years of a child's life. Hit that subscribe button right now, because every week on this channel I post videos that pull forgotten food wisdom back into the modern kitchen. The kind of food-first solutions that work when nothing else does. Stick around because number 4 on this list is one almost every parent already has in their refrigerator right now. But most are serving it in the exact way that strips out the iron. And number 1 is a food modern parents have almost completely abandoned, even though it is, gram for gram, the single most iron-dense food on Earth. 7 foods, 14 days, generations of forgotten wisdom. Let's get into it. Number 7. Fortified oats, the quiet morning workhorse. Long before fortified cereals lined the shelves of every grocery store, oats were already considered one of the gentlest, most strengthening foods you could feed a small child. Across Northern Europe, oats were the first solid food given to babies as they transitioned off milk, prized for being easy to digest, warming, and deeply satisfying. Scottish mothers were known to soak oats overnight in milk before serving them to children at first light, a tradition that quietly improved how well the nutrients were absorbed long before anyone understood why. And here's what makes this remarkable. Modern iron-fortified infant oats can deliver between 7 and 11 milligrams of iron per serving, which is a significant portion of a toddler's entire daily requirement in a single bowl. But most people miss this. The iron in oats is non-heme iron, which means the body absorbs it far less efficiently on its own. Pair that bowl of oats with even a small amount of vitamin C, a few slices of strawberry, a spoonful of mashed kiwi, a splash of orange juice, and absorption can jump dramatically. Suddenly, that humble breakfast is doing real work. Here's the practical magic of oats that most people walk right past. Beta-glucan, the soluble fiber that gives oats their creamy texture, helps stabilize blood sugar through the morning, which means fewer mid-morning crashes, fewer tantrums, and a toddler who can actually focus during playtime instead of melting down by 10:30. Oats are not glamorous. They are not trending. But for centuries, they have been the food that quietly carried small children through their hardest growing years. And they still do that work today in any kitchen willing to use them. This was the first food I added to the rotation, and within days I noticed my toddler making it to lunch without the usual mid-morning crash. Number 6. Lentils, the forgotten powerhouse of the ancient world. Lentils are one of the oldest cultivated foods in human history, with evidence of their use stretching back more than 9,000 years across the Middle East, India, and the Mediterranean. In ancient Egypt, lentils were so valued that they were buried in tombs as provision for the afterlife. In India, lentil-based dals have been fed to babies and toddlers for thousands of years as their first introduction to solid protein, often cooked slowly with warming spices and a small amount of ghee. And there's a reason these cultures kept coming back to them. A half cup of cooked lentils contains roughly 3 milligrams of iron, which for a toddler is a meaningful percentage of their daily target in a single serving. Most people walk right past this, but lentils also deliver folate, fiber, and plant protein in the same bite, which means they are not just feeding your child's iron levels. They are supporting red blood cell production, gut health, and steady energy all at once. And this is where it gets really remarkable. Lentils contain natural compounds called phytates that can block iron absorption, which is exactly why traditional cultures soak them overnight, sprouted them, or slow cook them with acidic ingredients like tomato or lemon. That single step, almost completely lost in modern kitchens, can dramatically increase how much iron a small body actually pulls from the meal. Here's what most people get wrong with lentils. They serve them dry cooked, plain, and unsoaked, then wonder why their toddler doesn't seem to respond to them. Soak them overnight. Cook them low and slow. Finish them with a squeeze of lemon. Serve them in a soft stew, mashed into a soup, or stirred into rice. Done that way, lentils become one of the most ancient, most affordable, most brain-supportive meals ever invented. Number 5. Pumpkin seeds. The tiny mineral vault. In the ancient Americas, pumpkin seeds were considered so nutritionally important that the Aztecs ground them into pastes and used them in sacred ceremonies. Across the Middle East and Eastern Europe, mothers passed down the practice of saving pumpkin seeds from harvest season specifically to feed to children through the long winters when fresh food was scarce and small bodies needed something dense and warming to make it through. They didn't have lab analyses. They just knew children grew stronger when these seeds were on the table. And modern science has finally caught up to what those mothers already knew. Pumpkin seeds are one of the most iron-dense plant foods on Earth, delivering roughly 2.5 milligrams of iron per ounce, alongside generous amounts of zinc, magnesium, and healthy fats. Every single one of which plays a role in brain development, immune strength, and stable mood. Here's what stops people in their tracks. Magnesium specifically is one of the most under-consumed minerals in young children, and a deficiency in it has been linked in clinical research to poor sleep, irritability, and restlessness. Pumpkin seeds quietly deliver iron and magnesium in the same bite, which means they are not just fueling your toddler's blood, they are calming their nervous system at the same time. The catch is that whole pumpkin seeds are a serious choking hazard for toddlers, so they must be ground into a fine powder or stirred as pumpkin seed butter into oatmeal, yogurt, or smoothies. Prepared that way, they become one of the easiest, most powerful add-ons you can sneak into almost any meal. A small spoonful of forgotten wisdom hiding inside breakfast. By the second week of adding ground pumpkin seeds to my toddler's morning yogurt, the irritability I had been chalking up to just being 2 had quietly dropped away. Before we get to the heavier hitters, let me ask you something. Are you starting to see the pattern here? Every food on this list does more than one job. Iron, yes, but also magnesium, choline, healthy fats, zinc, B vitamins. That's the philosophy of food-first parenting. You stop chasing one nutrient at a time inside a plastic bottle, and you start building meals where every bite is feeding 10 different parts of a growing body at once. That's the philosophy this channel is built on, and if it resonates with you, hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps this video reach other parents who are tired of watching their kids drag through afternoons no toddler should have to drag through. And if you're not subscribed to Forgotten Herbal yet, click that subscribe button and ring the bell. We post every week, and every video is built to put real, ancient food-first wisdom back into modern hands. Alright, let's keep going. Number 4. Egg yolks. The food in every refrigerator that most parents are wasting. Egg yolks have been considered a sacred first food for babies and toddlers across nearly every traditional culture on Earth. In rural France, Mothers fed babies soft-cooked egg yolks starting at 6 months. In Japan, the yolk was prized as one of the first solids introduced because of its richness and density. In Old World Jewish and Eastern European kitchens, the yolk was considered the strengthening part of the egg, the part you saved for the children. And there is a reason every one of these cultures arrived at the same conclusion independently. A single large egg yolk contains about 1 milligram of highly bioavailable iron plus choline, vitamin D, vitamin B12, and brain-supporting fats that are almost impossible to find together in any other single food. Most people miss this, though, because they have been serving eggs to their toddlers the exact wrong way. Scrambled hard, cooked until the yolk is dry and crumbly. Here's what most people get wrong. Overcooking the yolk damages those delicate fats and reduces the bioavailability of the very nutrients hiding inside it. Traditional cultures cook the yolk softly, barely set, runny, or gently steamed, preserving the very compounds that made it worth feeding to a child in the first place. And this is where it gets really interesting. Choline, which is concentrated almost entirely in the yolk, is one of the most important nutrients for memory and brain development in the first 3 years of life. Pair a soft-yolked egg with a piece of fruit for vitamin C, and you have built one of the most complete toddler meals in existence using ingredients that have been sitting in refrigerators all along. Once I switched from hard scrambled to soft-set yolks every morning, the brain fog cleared faster than anything else on this list. Number 3. Spinach cooked. The leaf the strong men got right and the cartoons got wrong. Popeye made spinach famous as the food that made you strong. And while the cartoon exaggerated almost everything about it, the underlying instinct was correct. Spinach has been used as a strengthening food for thousands of years, from ancient Persia, where it likely originated, through the Mediterranean, where it became a staple of long-life cuisines. Italian grandmothers braised it slow with garlic. Greek families folded it into pies fed to growing children. And modern science has confirmed what those kitchens already knew. 1 cup of cooked spinach contains around 6 milligrams of iron, more than most red meats by weight. But, and this is the part most people miss, spinach also contains high levels of oxalates and phytates, compounds that bind to iron and dramatically reduce how much your toddler's body can actually absorb. This is why the cooking method matters more than almost any other food on this list. Sautéing spinach in a little olive oil and a squeeze of lemon, that simple combination of heat, healthy fat, and vitamin C, breaks down some of those binding compounds and unlocks the iron in a way raw spinach never can. Here's the hidden secret of spinach. Cooked spinach also delivers folate, vitamin K, and lutein in the same serving, all of which support healthy blood cell production, bone development, and eye development during the critical toddler years. Most parents serve spinach raw in a smoothie and assume they are doing their child a favor. Cooking it is the unlock. A small handful wilted into pasta sauce, stirred into eggs, or hidden inside a meatball can quietly transform a toddler meal from ordinary into one of the most iron-rich plates on the table. Number 2. Grass-fed beef, the food that built generations of strong children. For most of human history, red meat was treated as a strengthening food specifically reserved for children, pregnant mothers, the elderly, and the sick. In traditional Mongolian cultures, the same cultures whose warriors covered impossible distances on horseback, beef and organ meats were considered essential for raising hardy children. Across rural Europe, beef broth and slow-cooked beef were the first solid proteins introduced to weaning toddlers, prized for being warming, nourishing, and easy to digest in soft form. And here's what makes beef so different from every plant food on this list. The iron in beef is heme iron, the form of iron that the human body absorbs 2 to 3 times more efficiently than the non-heme iron found in plants. A 3-ounce serving of grass-fed beef delivers around 2.5 milligrams of iron, but because of how well it absorbs, the real impact on a toddler's iron levels is far greater than that number suggests. And this is where it gets really remarkable. Beef also delivers zinc, vitamin B12, and high-quality protein in the same bite, 3 nutrients that work synergistically with iron to support energy production, immune function, and the rapid brain growth that happens during toddler years. Grass-fed beef takes this even further, containing higher levels of omega-3 fats and a more favorable nutrient profile than conventionally raised beef. For toddlers, the ideal forms are soft and slow-cooked, beef stews, shredded beef in broth, gentle meatballs, or beef simmered until tender enough to mash with a fork. Modern parents have been told for years that toddlers don't need much red meat. The traditions that raise the strongest children in human history disagree, and the science is increasingly siding with the traditions. Once beef went into the weekly rotation, the energy difference in my toddler became something I could see across the room. Number 1. Chicken liver. The single most iron-dense food on Earth, and the one modern parents have almost completely forgotten. There was a time not very long ago when chicken liver was considered one of the most precious foods a mother could feed her child. Across French, Italian, Jewish, Polish, and West African kitchens, liver was treated as medicine, gently sautéed, blended into pâté, mashed into vegetables, or stirred into rice for babies and toddlers. Pediatricians a century ago routinely prescribed liver for anemic children, and they did it because it worked, often within days. Most people walk right past this now. Liver has been quietly erased from the modern toddler plate, replaced by cereal bars and fruit pouches that contain a tiny fraction of its nutrient density. And the numbers are almost difficult to believe. A single 3-ounce serving of cooked chicken liver contains around 11 milligrams of iron, more than 4 times the iron in the same serving of beef, and far more than any plant food on this list. But the iron is just the beginning. That same serving delivers extraordinary amounts of vitamin A, vitamin B12, folate, choline, and copper, every one of which plays a role in brain development, immune strength, and energy production. Here's what makes this remarkable. Multiple traditional cultures arrived at the same conclusion independently: that liver was the single most strengthening food you could give a small child. Long before anyone could measure a microgram of vitamin B12. They were not guessing. They were watching their children grow strong on it, and the modern lab work has only confirmed what those kitchens already knew. The simplest way to introduce liver to a toddler is gently. A small amount of chicken liver, sautéed with butter and onion, blended smooth into a soft pâté, and stirred into mashed potato, sweet potato, or a simple rice dish, is virtually undetectable to most children. Start with a teaspoon. Build slowly. Because of liver's high vitamin A content, it should be served in modest amounts. A couple of times per week is plenty. But those small servings can shift a toddler's iron status faster than almost any other food in existence. This is the food modern parents forgot, and it might be the single most powerful thing on this list. When I added liver pâté to my toddler's diet twice a week in week 2, the change was so noticeable my own family started asking what we had done differently. 7 foods, 14 days. One thread connecting all of them. None of these foods are trendy, none of them are expensive, and none of them are new. They are the same foods that quietly raised generations of strong, sharp, focused children long before anyone had a single supplement to reach for. Fortified oats in the morning, lentils stewed soft with lemon, pumpkin seed butter stirred into yogurt, soft cooked egg yolks, spinach sautéed in olive oil, slow-cooked beef, and the one almost everyone has forgotten, chicken liver, gentle, blended, hidden inside a meal your toddler will never know, contain the most iron-dense food on Earth. The supplement industry will always push you toward a bottle, a multivitamin, a chewable, a gummy with a cartoon character on the front, because bottles are profitable and grandmothers were not. The parents and grandparents who raised some of the strongest, healthiest generations in human history didn't have any of that. They had the kitchen, the seasons, and a quiet body of knowledge passed down through hands and stovetops. They were not behind the times. They were paying attention. One important note before you go. Always check with your pediatrician before making significant changes to your toddler's diet, especially if your child has any allergies, sensitivities, or existing health concerns. Every child is different, and the right introduction matters as much as the food itself. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me which one you're trying first. Are you Team Chicken Liver for the deepest, fastest iron reset? Team Grass-Fed Beef for the gentle protein build? Or Team Egg Yolks for the everyday ingredient overhaul? I read every comment, and if you got something out of this video, hit the like button and subscribe to Forgotten Herbal, where ancient wisdom meets modern clarity, one forgotten food at a time. See you on the next one.